After the attack, Ibrahim Traoré's emotional speech shakes the nation. Following the devastating terrorist attack in Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré delivered a powerful and emotional speech that resonated across Africa and beyond. With passion and unwavering resolve, Traoré honored the fallen heroes and vowed that their blood will not be forgotten. This speech marks a defining moment in Burkina Faso's fight for sovereignty, security, and dignity. In the face of tragedy, Traoré's words have ignited a new wave of national unity and Pan-African resistance. What you'll see in this video: full breakdown of Ibrahim Traoré's emotional address, reactions from citizens, soldiers, and African leaders, the latest on the Burkina Faso attack and its implications, how Traoré is reshaping African leadership through courage, why this moment could define Africa's future path forward. This isn't just a speech, it's a call to action, a cry for unity, and a promise of justice. As the world watches, Africa stands strong. Burkina Faso stands proud. Join the conversation. What did you feel watching Traoré's speech? Like, comment, subscribe, share to honor the fallen and spread the message of African unity. Full breakdown of Ibrahim Traoré's emotional address. While the provided sources do not explicitly detail a single, specific, emotional address by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the most prominent speech associated with emotional resonance is his address at the Second Russia-Africa Economic and Humanitarian Forum on July 28, 2023, which is widely cited for its passionate, anti-imperialist rhetoric and comparisons to Thomas Sankara. Additionally, posts on X and other sources reference a fiery speech where Traoré accused Western powers, particularly France, of using propaganda as a tool of imperialism, which stirred significant sentiment. Without a specific date or event tied to an emotional address in 2025, this section analyzes the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit speech and related statements, as they align with the described emotional impact. Context and setting: Traoré delivered his speech at the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg, a platform where he urged African leaders to reject imperialist control and embrace sovereignty. The address was marked by a call for African autonomy, food security, and recognition of the continent's historical contributions, echoing Sankara's 1984 UN General Assembly speech. Key themes: anti-imperialism. Traoré accused Western powers, especially France, of perpetuating neocolonialism through media propaganda and economic exploitation. He stated, "It's not terrorism. It's imperialism," framing Western interventions as tools to maintain dominance to Pan-African unity. He advocated for a federation of self-reliant, resilient nations, promoting the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Mali and Niger as a model for African-led governance free from external interference. Sovereignty and self-reliance. Traoré rejected reliance on the IMF, World Bank, and Western aid, arguing that 60 years of foreign aid have left Africa impoverished while enriching Western banks and elites. Historical redress. He called for Africa's rightful place on the UN Security Council, criticizing the UN's impotence and its governance by former colonial powers. Emotional resonance. Traoré's delivery was described as rousing and fiery, invoking Sankara's spirit with phrases like, "The slave who is unable to assume his revolt does not deserve to be pitied." His youth, age 37, military fatigues, and direct, unapologetic tone amplified the emotional impact, resonating with audiences disillusioned by Western influence and poverty in resource-rich Africa. Social media amplified this, with viral clips portraying him as Africa's Messiah. Criticisms and context. While the speech inspired many, critics note Traoré's selective focus on Western imperialism while aligning with Russia, which some argue substitutes one external influence for another. The emotional appeal risks overshadowing practical governance challenges, such as ongoing jihadist violence and human rights concerns. Without a specific 2025 address, this speech remains the most likely candidate for the emotional address due to its widespread impact and emotional rhetoric, as evidenced by reactions on X and media coverage. Reactions from citizens, soldiers, and African leaders. Traoré's speeches, particularly the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit address and subsequent statements, have elicited strong reactions across various groups, reflecting his polarizing yet influential leadership. Citizens. Support in Burkina Faso. Thousands rallied in Ouagadougou's Place de la Révolution on April 30, 2025, chanting, "Long live Captain Traoré." Following a foiled coup attempt and U.S. General Michael Langley's criticisms of Traoré's use of gold reserves, citizens view him as a symbol of resistance against Western interference, with social media campaigns glorifying him as the people's captain. Digital amplification. AI-generated videos and deepfake anthems on platforms like TikTok and X depict Traoré as a divine warrior, though some are misleading. His rejection of foreign aid and focus on local solutions resonate with a population frustrated by poverty, 27.7% extreme poverty in 2023, and insecurity. Criticism. Some Burkinabe, particularly journalists and activists, face online abuse and censorship for questioning Traoré's rule, reflecting a repressive civic space. Civicus rating dropped to repressed in 2024. Soldiers, loyalty and mobilization. Traoré's military background and frontline experience in counterinsurgency operations, e.g. Otapuanu Offensive, 2019, earn him loyalty among soldiers. His general mobilization in April 2023 rallied civilians and soldiers to fight jihadists, though human rights groups report abuses, including the Karma village massacre in 2023. Discontent. Some military elements are dissatisfied, as evidenced by multiple coup attempts since 2022, including one in April 2025 allegedly backed by Ivory Coast. Russian Africa Corps protection for Traoré suggests distrust within the military. African leaders, support from AES allies. Leaders of Mali and Niger, part of the AES, align with Traoré's anti-Western stance and vision for a junta-led federation. Senegal's Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko and Chad's Foreign Minister criticized French President Emmanuel Macron's remarks, supporting Traoré's defiance. Broader appeal. South African politician Julius Malema and Ghanaian rapper Sarkodie have praised Traoré, reflecting his influence across the continent. His reception at Ghana's President Mahama's inauguration on January 7, 2025, where he received the loudest applause among 21 African leaders, underscores his regional popularity. Skepticism. Pro-Western leaders in ECOWAS states like Ivory Coast and Senegal view Traoré's actions as destabilizing, fearing the AES's challenge to regional integration. The reactions highlight Traoré's ability to mobilize support through anti-imperialist rhetoric, but his repressive measures and reliance on Russian support alienate some domestic and regional actors. The latest on the Burkina Faso attack and its implications. The most recent significant attack referenced in the sources occurred on August 24, 2024, near Barcelogo in Samatenga province, where jihadists killed at least 100 civilians and dozens of soldiers. Other sources mention a June 2024 attack on a military base in Mansilla, killing over 100 soldiers. Without a specific 2025 attack tied to the query, this section focuses on these incidents and their broader implications. Details of the Barcelogo attack. Incident. On August 24, 2024, jihadists attacked a military position and nearby village, targeting civilians digging trenches for defense. The attack killed hundreds, including women and children, marking one of Burkina Faso's deadliest incidents. Context. The attack occurred amid Traoré's general mobilization to involve civilians in counterinsurgency efforts, highlighting vulnerabilities in his strategy. Government response. The junta suppressed media coverage, contributing to a de facto censorship environment, with rights groups reporting abductions of critics. Implications. Security crisis. Over 60% of Burkina Faso's territory is outside government control, with 2.1 million displaced and 6.5 million needing humanitarian aid. The attack underscores the failure of Traoré's Russian-backed security strategy, with a 65% rise in fatalities since 2022. Russian involvement. The presence of Russian Africa Corps troops since January 2024 has not stemmed the violence, raising questions about their effectiveness compared to expelled French forces. Political stability. The attack fuels perceptions of Traoré's inability to deliver on security promises, potentially weakening his domestic support. The foiled April 2025 coup attempt suggests ongoing internal dissent. Regional impact. The attack strengthens the AES's narrative of African-led solutions but also highlights the need for regional cooperation, which is strained by Burkina Faso's ECOWAS withdrawal. Geopolitical ramifications. Western powers, particularly the US, cite the attack to criticize Traoré's alignment with Russia, while Russia uses it to justify deeper military engagement. The humanitarian crisis risks further destabilizing the Sahel, affecting neighboring countries. The Barcelogo attack exposes the limits of Traoré's security strategy, challenging his revolutionary image and complicating Burkina Faso's path to stability. How Traoré is reshaping African leadership through courage. Traoré's bold, unapologetic leadership style is redefining African leadership, drawing comparisons to revolutionary figures like Thomas Sankara and Patrice Lumumba. His courage manifests in several ways. Anti-imperialist defiance. Traoré expelled French troops in February 2023, rejecting a decades-long military presence and banned French media like RFI for alleged propaganda. He refused an invitation from former U.S. President Donald Trump, signaling rejection of Western patronage. His alignment with Russia and formation of the AES challenged Western-dominated regional bodies like ECOWAS, inspiring other juntas. Economic nationalism. Traoré nationalized gold mines, launched Burkina Faso's first gold refinery in 2023, and suspended small-scale gold export permits in 2024, aiming to retain wealth domestically. He rejected IMF and World Bank loans, advocating for self-reliance, and turned down Saudi Arabia's offer to build 200 mosques, requesting schools and hospitals instead. Cultural revival. Traoré banned British-style judicial wigs in favor of traditional Burkinabe attire and promoted Faso Dan Fani clothing, fostering national pride. His rhetoric invoked Sankara's legacy, rallying youth with slogans like, "Fatherland or death, we will win." Youth engagement. At 37, Traoré resonates with Africa's young population. Burkina Faso's median age is 17.7. His media-savvy approach, including viral social media campaigns, amplifies his image as a courageous, relatable leader. Challenges to his model. Critics argue Traoré's courage borders on authoritarianism, with media suspensions, e.g., BBC, VOA, and human rights abuses, such as the 2023 Karma massacre, tarnishing his image. His reliance on Russian support risks replacing one form of dependency with another, undermining his sovereignty narrative. Traoré's courageous rejection of Western influence and focus on self-reliance are reshaping African leadership by prioritizing sovereignty and youth aspirations. But his methods raise concerns about sustainability and democratic backsliding. Why this moment could define Africa's future path forward. Traoré's leadership, particularly his anti-imperialist stance and the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit speech, represents a pivotal moment that could shape Africa's trajectory. Revival of Pan-Africanism. Traoré's formation of the AES and calls for a federated, self-reliant Africa revive the ideals of Kwame Nkrumah and Sankara. His popularity among youth and leaders like Julius Malema signals a growing demand for African-led governance models. The AES's withdrawal from ECOWAS challenges Western-aligned institutions, potentially redefining regional integration. Geopolitical realignment. Burkina Faso's pivot to Russia, China, and Turkey reflects a broader African shift toward multipolarity, reducing reliance on Western powers. This could encourage other nations to diversify partnerships, altering global power dynamics. The rejection of French influence in the Sahel, Mali, Niger, Chad, sets a precedent for dismantling colonial legacies. Youth-driven change. With 66% of Burkinabe accepting military rule, Afrobarometer, 2024. Traoré's popularity reflects a generational shift away from democracy's perceived failures. This could legitimize juntas elsewhere, risking democratic backsliding but also empowering youth voices. His focus on healthcare, mobile clinics, cataract surgeries, and agriculture, 400 free tractors, addresses youth priorities, potentially setting a model for responsive governance. Economic potential. Research predicts Burkina Faso's economy could grow at 8% annually from 2025 to 2043, lifting 2.4 million out of poverty if governance improves. Traoré's resource nationalism could inspire other resource-rich nations to prioritize domestic wealth. However, ongoing insecurity and human rights concerns could undermine these gains, deterring investment. Risks and challenges. The Barcelogo attack and persistent jihadist violence highlight the fragility of Traoré's security strategy, which could erode his legitimacy if unaddressed. Repression of dissent and media censorship risk alienating civil society, potentially fueling unrest or further. Coups over-reliance on Russia could limit Africa's autonomy, contradicting Traoré's sovereignty narrative. This moment, defined by Traoré's bold leadership and the Sahel's geopolitical shift, could either catalyze a new era of African self-determination or lead to instability if security and governance challenges persist. Conclusion. Traoré's emotional address at the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, coupled with his bold reforms, has positioned him as a symbol of African resistance, inspiring citizens, soldiers, and leaders while challenging Western dominance. The Barcelogo attack highlights the limits of his security strategy, threatening his revolutionary image. His courageous leadership is reshaping African governance by prioritizing sovereignty and youth aspirations, but risks authoritarianism and dependency on Russia. This moment could define Africa's future by galvanizing Pan-Africanism and self-reliance, provided Traoré addresses security and governance challenges effectively.